Yo, what's up? We're now in front of my garage with the two Model 3s here, and in this video I will try to measure the difference in consumption between these two. And okay, the one behind me here, that's MC Hammer, my Tesla Model 3 from 2019. The one in the garage is 2021 Model 3. They look similar, but actually under the hood there are several differences, and we will see now how much energy they use. So beforehand, I actually preheated MC Hammer for 4 hours. I need to do that because I need to bring the state of charge low enough. And then, yeah, it was kind of unplanned. And so this one, the new Model 3, has been sitting in the garage. It has around 68%. I'm not charging it right now. We'll keep it like that, and I will start preheating it in about 1 hour. But anyway, it's nice and warm in the garage. And this one, the old Model 3, so okay, it has some modifications rather that might also affect the consumption. We try to highlight them. It has some non-standard wheels. They might be slightly less efficient. We have third-party mud flaps there, and also it had mud flaps on the rear. That could disturb the airflow a little bit, I'm not sure. This one has also the spoiler because it's performance, so it could also be slightly worse, I'm not sure. And the last thing is that I also have LED bar. So again, I'm not sure if that worsened the consumption or not, but at least I show you guys the differences. Whereas this one is stock, there is no LED bar. It also has the new aero wheels, and it has the Tesla standard mud flaps, and that's it, no mud flap in the back. See? So I actually noticed that it was more efficient when I took a trip today, but we will measure it exactly now, head to head, see how big the difference is. So this car, the new one, is kind of warm-ish. The battery, I checked it now, battery is at around 10-12 degrees Celsius. So we will let it rest in there for now. And when we check out MC Hammer, so I preheated it, and it also preheats the battery. And you see, you can see it here, that what does all these numbers mean? The one that is relevant for you guys is this cell temp mid. The battery pack is at 23 degrees Celsius. That's okay. Stators are at 73 and 64 degrees. This is a rear stator, front stator. Battery inlet, you see, right now, if the battery inlet is the same as the cell temp, then it's not trying to heat up or cool down the battery. Powertrain is also the same. So yeah, now we will start driving. So the plan is that I will do one consumption loop. This is to simulate a typical scenario where you drive, you preheat the car, and then, oh, hang on, oops, sorry, let me increase that one a little bit. And then we're gonna drive to Kløfta here, and then go back again. Actually, we'll stop at Circle K. We'll do a little 50-kilometer loop, and we measure the consumption. And then, yeah, I will tell you the plan afterwards. All right, we've been driving for 16 minutes, actually 16 kilometers now. We just passed Skedsmokorset. And what I want to show you here is this one here, you see? Battery inlet says 25 degrees Celsius versus battery 24. What this means is that it's trying to heat up the battery. Actually, we have the next step before that. What happens is that here you see rear stators, or actually power goes to the motor here, front motor, and that process generates a little bit of leftover heat, and that means that the stators is heating up a little bit, mostly the rear, because you see it's mostly rear wheel drive, and then that leftover heat is then diverted. You can see the powertrain inlet here is colder than the stator, so colder liquid comes in, and then it's heated up by the stator, and then it's diverted towards the battery coolant. So the battery coolant will be warmer into the battery, trying to heat it up. So this is the behavior that I've seen over and over again with the classic, I call it the classic Model 3 now, that, you know, it doesn't have any heat scavenging. It's actually, it's a misconception. I've been saying it wrong for many years now, because I thought that Model S, X, and also now Model 3 had the heat scavenging from the motor, but you simply cannot use the energy from the motor here or here to heat up the cabin. It can only heat up the battery, and that's exactly what it's doing now. It's heating up the battery. So in comparison, cars without this kind of heat scavenging, less sophisticated cars, they will not feed the battery, this one, and that's why they Colgate. So yeah, now let's just keep driving. Okay, we are now at Kløfta, and here is a turnaround point. After 27 kilometers, we'll turn around and go back again. We are at Circle K now. Alabru, Furuset, I mean, yeah. And look at that consumption, 195, damn! It's 2 degrees Celsius outside, slightly wet. That is high, that is high. I wonder if there's something wrong with my car or not. But anyway, okay. Just to show you now, the fan speed is set to 4. We have evaporator on, it's been on for most of the time, that's it. It's on auto. And I actually feel like it's kind of hot in my feet here. It's always been like that in my car. So maybe I should go with lower temperature, but whatever. Okay, so you know, now what we're gonna do is we will navigate to the supercharger in Nebenes. All right. Now let's see what happens then. Whoa. The fan speed went down to 3, but it's not, oh, okay, it's not preheating yet. So, you know, the whole algorithm behind preheating before supercharging depends on battery temperature and distance you're driving to, and lots and lots of factors, also state of charge. So the car figures out that it doesn't need to preheat. So just show you here that we have 24.8 degrees in the battery pack. Inlet is 24, so yeah, it's not cooling or heating it up. Really, nothing's going on. Okay, let's start driving then. Right, we are now, we just passed Skedsmokorset again. Almost the same checkpoint here after 16 kilometers of driving. And now you see here, this one indicates that the front and the rear motors, they are activated to preheat. So it says in the display now, preconditioning battery for fast charging, and we are 37 kilometers away. So now what you will notice is as this one starts rising to start heating up the battery. So as expected, yeah, this is a feature for Tesla that once you navigate to a supercharger, it will start preheating. And this also means that the consumption is going to be slightly higher because of this. And then I forgot that we have the Norwegian Left Lane Huggers Club. They have a little convention here at E6. So I've been stuck behind them. And I forgot to mention that the previous run was done at 90 kilometers per hour. But this run here is speed limit plus VAT. Yeah, that's what most people drive at, you see. We are now at the Nebenes, and we managed to spend 255 watt-hour per kilometer here. 1 degree Celsius, wet on the road. All right, and let's check the battery temperature. So during the preheating process, the battery is heated up to 30 degrees Celsius. We have 26%, so let's plug it in. All right, getting 131 kilowatt. Okay, not too shabby. And as you guys have seen before, I will just have to show you again. Here we have 3.5 kilowatt each to the front and the rear motor. So this is the way for Tesla Model 3 to generate heat. So additional to the heat, the charging, it's also heating up the stators here, and then that in turn heats up the coolant that goes into the battery. So we're gonna charge to about 60-70%, I think. And you probably know this already, but I will just show you in case you don't know about this. The heater is running right now, and this car could probably take more than 131 kilowatts. So if we switch off the heater, you see, suddenly we get 134 kilowatt, because the limitation here is in the charger. The charger can output around 140 kilowatt. We're pulling 7 kilowatt for the afterburners. So if you really want to tweak it and charge as fast as possible on the V2 chargers, you should stop the heater for just 5-10 minutes until this speed drops below 134 kilowatt. Then you can fire up the heater, because then the heater will just take the leftover power available from the charger. All right, we've been charging for almost 20 minutes, and I think we have plenty enough now. So it wasn't, this is not a charging test. It's actually primarily to bring up the battery temperature. So you see here, the battery has heated up to 51 degrees Celsius, and it's actually still actively heating up the battery. But we have enough now, so what I'm gonna do is stop the charging, unlock it, and then immediately you see that the afterburner stopped. And then stuff should happen here at the coolant here. Okay, so we are unplugged now, and you see the heater is still running. It still has the evaporator on. Fan speed has reduced to 3 now. Seems like while you're driving, it's going at 4. So we will see what happens with the new Model 3. And then usually when you park, it goes down to 3. So, and now I will show you now what happens when you're just parked like this. You see, it has to pull about 2 something kilowatt total. So remember that we have a base consumption here. If we just turn off the heater, I will show you now. Okay, you see that the screen, the MCU, everything is sucking a little bit of power, and that's the base consumption, 270, let's say 250 watts. So actually in the previous video yesterday when I measured the consumption with, that was in camp mode, you know, it was 700 something watts versus 2.2 kilowatts. The real consumption for the heater is actually almost 2 kilowatts for this car and about 500 watts for the new Model 3, because you have to subtract the base consumption. Yeah, if you know what I mean. But anyway, what I want to show you is that when you have the heater running, okay, wait for it to initialize. Yeah, you see, you will see that with this car, which is kind of funny, right? There is no heat scavenging going on here. So we have 52 degrees Celsius in the battery pack, lots of heat. And then here, this is inlet. So right now, the car is actively cooling down the battery, but it's not running the compressor. It's not going that aggressively. You saw that when we switch off HVAC, it didn't do any crazy cooling, because if we actually run track mode, you will see that the power draw goes up to 6 kilowatt. Then it's running the compressor more aggressively to cool down. Right now what it's doing is that the car is just running it through the radiator, and so it's using very little energy, but it's still actively cooling down the battery. It's not, you know, passively like a leaf or something, but it goes slowly because it doesn't prioritize cooling it down that fast. But the sad thing about this is that the energy, the heat that is in the battery is dumped out, right out. We could try to, well, I didn't bring the thermal camera, unfortunately, but I know that the heat is usually dumped in the front wheel arches on this side and on this side here. So of course, if we could see in through the thermal camera, you will see that the car is just, we have a hot battery and it's dumping the heat out of the car rather than trying to scavenge it. And then at the same time, we are now spending energy heating up via the PTC heater. We are spending about 2 kilowatts in addition to heat up the cabin. So, you know, it sounds pretty stupid, but this is how most cars work, unfortunately. And I believe that the new Model 3 works differently. So that's what we're gonna find out right now. So let's head back to Oslo. Okay, so we've been driving for 6 minutes now since the supercharger. And you see down here, this is the battery flow, and this is the powertrain flow, and it's measured in liters per minute. And 14, 15 is considers like in the middle. It's not low. Usually when the car is resting or is just driving slowly or normal driving, it will be at around 6 liters per minute. So it's higher now. The pumps are going higher now because it's trying to cool down the battery. See, now this one inlet is down to 36 degrees already, and it's also starting to cool down the battery here. And you can also notice that these two here, that's the front and the rear stators, they were at 70 degrees or something when we were supercharging, because they, you know, we use the afterburners, but they naturally cool down now once we drive. Okay, we're back home now. And we spent 247 watt-hour per kilometer. That is crazy, man. Yeah, is there something wrong with MC Hammer? I don't know. Maybe the brakes are holding. But okay, look here. So now we see that it has dropped to 5.5 liters per minute. So it's not aggressively, well, it wasn't that aggressive, but you see it's not cooling down that much. This is just the base circulation flow. This is the drivetrain and this is the battery loop. And you see that the battery has cooled down to 30 degrees Celsius. You see inlet, so it's not really doing much there. And then you see the stators are still 36 and 43 degrees. So this one has been working most of the time. The front motor kicks in when it needs some extra traction or power. So, all right, wow, what the heck? Why is it pulling 3 kilo? What? Why is it pulling 3 kilowatt? Dude, huh? Are you sick, bro? You sick? 3 kilowatt? Really? What? Well, okay. What is the heater doing? You know, I feel every time I stop that the heater is running at 4. Fan speed 4. All this. So just to see here, I suspect that the HVAC is pulling a lot of power. It feels almost too hot in my footwell now. But I'm going to stop the heat and see what happens. Look at that. Huh? Heater pulled 2.5 kilowatts. Okay, let's move over to the other car. We are in the new Model 3 now. MC Hammer is out there. We have 66%. Okay, all good. And if you look here, we've been preheating for over an hour. So see the battery is at 23.3 degrees Celsius. We have stators at 35 and 41 degrees. So wow, look at that. This is almost unreal how low power it uses. You see 530 watts. And if we try to turn off HVAC, there you go, 300 watts. So it means that the heat pump was only using around 250 watts to keep the car nice and warm. But all right, let's start driving again then. All right, we just passed Olavsgården. I've been driving for 12 kilometers. And yeah, the weather is actually slightly worse now than before. So whether that will affect the consumption or not, yeah, I think actually the driving condition today, I mean, on this car, the new car, is slightly worse. But okay, anyway, let me point out something here. If you look here, this one, we started at 23.3 degrees Celsius. And you see during the drive, the temperature has dropped by 1.3 degrees. And if you pay attention to this one here, this one is lower than that one. So this is the battery inlet. So it means that the coolant going into the battery is colder. You see, now it dropped even more than the temperature of the battery. What does this mean then? It means that the car is actually harvesting heat from the battery as we drive. And I believe that it uses that heat to heat up the cabin because it figures out that the battery is warm enough. We don't need that hot battery. And also you see here that the stators here are not that hot. These two, I also believe that the car harvests heat from the stators to also heat up the cabin. So interesting. Okay, we are still driving at 90 kilometers per hour, and the reason why I drive at 90 kilometers per hour is because I will simulate a low speed test, a typical commuting or whatever. And also the one other reason is that when I did the previous run, there were lots of left lane huggers. So if I would try to drive as fast as I could, then I would probably not get consistent speed results between this one and the previous run. So that's why. I mean, I could go faster here, but I'm not gonna do it now. But on the next run, I will go faster. So hold your horses, I will drive faster. I repeat, I will drive faster here, all right? Yeah, slap it there, okay. Wow, we are almost back at Circle K now, Furuset, IKEA over here. And look here. Look here. This car has been sucking the battery, sucking all the heat of the battery. We started at 23 degrees, we are down to 80, so we're taking 5 degrees Celsius off the battery. And you see the stators here are also pretty cold compared to the old Model 3. So seems like the new Model 3 has been designed to suck all the leftover heat from the system just to divert it towards the cabin, and also to reduce the amount of heat needed. So wow. Okay, I'm gonna check it out now. What was the result? What was the consumption then? We are back at Circle K, and look, wow. MC Hammer spent 195 watt-hour per kilometer. This is 22 watt-hour per kilometer lower, despite slightly worse driving condition. Huh? That is insane. 22 lower. Wow. It's mainly because of this, you know, I talk about. So what I'm gonna try now is what happens if we try. Oh shit, what the heck? Oh, there. I ordered a new camera. It's just arriving really slow. Pro Shop, ship that camera to me now. I paid for it already. Anyway, I want to see if I turn off HVAC. Now pay attention to this one here. And I guess the power. So we're pulling a 850 watt. Okay, turn off HVAC. Yeah, so the HVAC or the air conditioning pull only 400 watts to heat it up, because it was harvesting heat from the battery. You see now what happens? The battery inlet goes up because suddenly now we are not harvesting. Yeah, so pay attention to this one now, you see? We are not pulling power from the battery anymore. Huh, interesting. But, you know, a side effect of this, maybe a negative side effect. Well, you can see it here also. Let me zoom better to see. We have only 45 kilowatt of max regen power. And we have only 313 kilowatt of max discharge power. And you can even see it here better. Let me see. There you see we have a dotted line here. So what this basically means is that it's very nice for the new car that it harvests the energy from the battery, but a downside is that if you navigate to one of these, I mean, if you come here and you're planning on charging, then the battery is cold and you'll be charging slower. But in the end, you are saving energy. So you might be spending slightly less energy, right? So what we're going to do now is start this one again. We can also observe, you heard a little humming. That was the heat pump that started. And now it shouldn't take many seconds before we start seeing this one drop again. Yeah, you see? And now it starts harvesting it, and you see there that we are pulling. So you see now the base consumption that we are stationary is around 850 watts, okay, just like we had before. Now what I'm going to do is to navigate to the supercharger, then we see what happens. Because the battery is kind of cold now. It better start yeah, you see? Let me listen. Okay, now it preheats for supercharging, and you see here it's pulling 2 times 3 kilowatt. Oh, I can feel the steering wheel is vibrating a little bit from the heat pump, actually. And now this one will start heating up, but let me see here. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed this, but 2 times, this is 6 kilowatt, right? So the stators are pulling 6 kilowatt. Pumps are not running that much. But remember, we were pulling 850 watts. Now we're pulling 7.5 kilowatt. If you do the math, 6 kilowatt plus 850, that should be 6.8 kilowatt. We are pulling 7 something kilowatt. Now this means that the heat pump is helping to heat up the battery. Yeah, I don't know if you guys follow me there, but it should be 6.7 kilowatt, and it's 7.5 roughly. So the heat pump is doing an additional 700 watts of heating power to heat up the battery. So we will see now, we will start driving and we see how rapidly this goes. So the reason why this new car starts preheating already here, not halfway over there, is because the battery is colder for a natural reason. So now we'll reset and start driving. We are now at Nebenes. Consumption was 271, but there's a freaking shitstorm outside, so we could blame the weather. Always blame the weather. me just check here. Yeah, fan speed is 4, just like with MC Hammer, but evaporator is off. So, but also actually one of the reasons why the consumption is higher, because it's been running the stators for longer, actually since we started driving. But you see that it managed to heat up the battery to almost the same temperature as MC Hammer, 29 degrees. MC Hammer was at 30 something when we arrived here. Yeah, slightly higher stator charge. And you see that we are pulling only 900 watts now to maintain the heat. You see, slightly less than before, because I think right now we are not harvesting the heat from the battery. Or are we? No. Okay, let's plug it in. Oh, look at that. Huh. Interesting. We are getting 135 kilowatt with the heater running. Because I guess the heater doesn't suck that much power compared to MC Hammer. Okay, well, it starts slowing down now. But okay, all good. Now I will just sit and wait a little bit. And we can watch this one. I'm also recording this to check out what happens. Yeah, I can feel like the heat pump is running. It's I feel on the steering wheel, it's vibrating a little bit. All right, we've been charging for almost 20 minutes also, and we had 64%. And I feel like we're charging a little bit slow. You see, 57, 58 kilowatt. And I noticed that the afterburners, they shut down kind of early. On MC Hammer, it ran even when I unplugged. So not here. I'm not sure why, but you see that on MC Hammer, the temperature on the pack went all the way to 50 degrees, 51, actually 52 when I unplugged. This one goes up slower, especially after the afterburner shut down, then it goes up really slow. And this could be the reason why some people are reporting that the newest Model 3s, they charge slower, because they might not have insight in here, but most likely they charge slower because it's winter, naturally. And this one here, the temperature is not rising fast enough. And as you've seen in the past, it's harvesting too much of the heat while driving. So once you supercharge, you simply don't have enough heat to build up, you know. So, but I have to investigate that further. But okay, I think I will unplug now. I brought up the recording from MC Hammer. You can see it on this side here, that MC Hammer at the same state of charge, and then we can see the charging session for this car here side by side. You see that at 65%, MC Hammer was charging faster, simply because the battery was warmer. MC Hammer, or I mean, okay, the old car used the stators longer to heat up the battery. So okay, but let me show you something. This is the beauty of octovalve. So remember, when I unplugged the MC Hammer, it was consuming 2.2 kilowatt, you know, the idle power to just keep the car nice and warm. And look here, this is insane. This is what I wanted to see today. So it's harvesting the heat from the battery here. Look at that, wow. I've never seen it before, that the inlet is 20 degrees lower than the battery. Well, actually it's going up now. But so this is, you know, it's actually using the leftover heat from the battery. This is heat scavenging. I've never seen it in any other car. As far as I know, only the newest Model 3 and Model Y. Every Model Y had it from the start. Oh, you heard that humming? Ooh, yeah. That was the heat pump. Just kicked in doing something and then it stopped again. But wow. So let me see. Let me just try here for fun now. Okay. 500 watts. Okay, I'm going to switch off HVAC. See, 200 watts. So actually the heat pump only needed 200 watts, or actually 150 watts or something. Yeah, well, let's say 200 watts then. It only needed 200 watts to harvest the heat. Okay, I'm gonna fire it up again. Wow, that is cool. So you know what we're gonna do now? We will travel back to Oslo and we will see how low the consumption is. But okay, the weather is kind of shitty. We are back home now. Ho, 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 Christmas is here, yeah. Okay, but look, MC Hammer spent 247 getting back here. And this was, what? 203? Really? Huh? I think the time should also be very similar. So, you know, I drove exact same speed. There were some places I had to slow down because of some stau. Let me show you here. no, there wasn't stau really. It was just a little bit of yeah, so no big deal. But anyway, yeah. And then if you look here, so I turn off the headlight now. You see, it's been, well, it's not been sucking it dry. It's been sucking it cold. So you see, now we arrive with 26 degrees. So the battery is colder than with MC Hammer. But yeah, it's been running the whole scavenging here. So wow. And here you see we're only pulling 600. How much is that? 600 watts, right? 600 watts. And then let's just for fun switch off HVAC. Yeah, you see? Only 200 watts. It's just sucking. It's just sucking on the battery. That is awesome. Okay, so now I just made the table to summarize everything to see better the differences. So yeah, on the low speed test, you see that we had a significant difference there. And then for the high speed test, naturally, this car sucked more power because it had to heat up the battery. But then, of course, you see the reverse effect is that after supercharging, then you can reuse that energy. So it's pretty cool. It's a nice feeling that you can reuse that heat that you build up beforehand. Because I always felt when I was driving MC Hammer that, you know, I just burned a lot of energy to waste energy to heat up the battery just so I can charge faster, and then afterwards I just dump out the heat again. So, you know, that feeling of wasting energy. Can you imagine when you drive a fossil car and you brake or you just start the engine, 60-70% of the engine of the energy is gone in heat. But and interestingly, so if you take the average of this, I found out that the distances are around 55 something kilometers, these three tests. So average for MC Hammer is roughly 232 watt-hour per kilometer, and then average for this car is 216 watt-hour per kilometer. So in percentage, if that matters, it's 7% more efficient. And then, I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but it's 16 watt-hour per kilometer difference. In the previous video, I estimated based on just the parked one that it would be 15 watt-hour per kilometer difference. And some people say, yeah, but if you drive, it would be different. The difference would be bigger. Well, we tried now, real world case, and actually it turns out to be 16 watt-hour per kilometer difference. So of course, if we try another day with a down scenario, we might get different results. But yeah, so again, okay, it's not the end of the world if you still have an old car like mine. Of course, the new car is better, but you know, in the end, especially for EVs though, okay, maybe I haven't emphasized that in the previous video, but for EVs, it is actually important to make the car as efficient as possible, because in the end of the day, if you have, let's say you have a big battery, like an e-tron, and you charge fast like an e-tron, that's awesome. But if you spend a lot of energy like an e-tron, then that kind of almost defeats the purpose, you know. But then on the other hand, if you have an efficient car like Model 3, where you just reuse everything, you reuse the energy, the heat is you know, it has a high value, so reuse it, then you can actually get away with lower charging speed or smaller battery or whatever. But Tesla just happened to have fast cars, outstanding charging network, fast charging cars, fairly big battery, efficient cars. So, you know, basically what I'm saying is that Tesla, I mean, I've been saying this for many years. People who don't know this, they don't know, but Tesla makes the best EVs. I tested so many cars out there, and there is not a single car out there that I know of that has this awesome design like Tesla has. Okay, you can argue that it has panel gaps, it's noisy, yes, but when it comes to the EV properties, Tesla is outstanding. And with the octovalve, they just made the best EV in the world even better. So again, people who are clueless about this, they will always say that, like, who's that guy again? Sandy Munro, some old fart over there in US. He's talking about that, sarcasm, talking about that Tesla, they are 5 years ahead of the competitors. And then people say, no, Are you really sure about that? I think Tesla is 5 years ahead of the competitors. When will we see octovalve? When will we see this kind of heat scavenging, this kind of smart design in other EVs? Huh? I can try to investigate, see how the other EVs work, but I'm pretty sure they don't work like this, not like this. So yeah, maybe I'll just stop ranting here then. So that's gonna be it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thank you for watching and talk to you later.